The villains of the DC universe have finally realized just how capable of evil Dr. Eggman can be, and underestimating him proved to be a costly mistake. With the Justice League trapped in null space after willingly walking into a trap set by the likes of Lex Luthor and Eggman, very few heroes remained who could truly pose a threat to the mad geniuses. However, the foundation of this rather evil coalition was built on unstable grounds, which is exactly what Sonic and the Justice League are betting on. As the story kicks off, we see just what sort of madness is ensuing with the supposed defeat of the heroes of both worlds. Batgirl has allied herself with Tangle, which is rather funny because, as many people have pointed out online, these two share the same voice actress, Ashlyn Madden, who played Barbara Gordon in the DC Superhero Girls projects, and Tangle in Tails Tube, and of course, the Chaotix case files. Kite Man has seemed to take a liking to the Babylon Rogues, which I guess makes sense since they are all thieves after all, but also very likable goobers. Finally, we have another odd yet very interesting pairing of Zor and whom I believe to be the Shade. I guess I understand this pairing because the Shade has these cool shadow powers, and Zor is described as being one with the shadows both physically and mentally. So perhaps due to this, they found some sort of kinship. Once again, I love these openings and all these cool team-ups that they depict. It really shows that there are almost endless possibilities when it comes to who can show up and work alongside each other in this chaotic crossover. Catching up with Lex and Eggman, who are kicking off a celebration for finally defeating their foes, there's a notable air of tension between the two, almost as if either of them will make a move at the drop of a pin. Despite the underlying tension, Eggman begins to sing his rather sinister rendition of Auld Lang Syne, and the celebrations commence. Everyone seems to be in really good spirits, but perhaps it's all a facade, as we know that both of these bald baddies are planning something rather ominous. Sinestro compliments Eggman and Lex on the very idea of locking their enemies away somewhere where even death isn't permitted to be a sweet release. Null space is a hopeless void where one could lose their mind if trapped for an eternity. Cheetah, on the other hand, finds this method of dealing with the League way too tame for her taste. She would have much rather had the opportunity to rip their hearts out. Black Manta, though, seems to be the most frustrated of the bunch, as this plan of Eggman and Luthor's was supposed to be a way to deal with everyone's enemies. However, for him, Aquaman is still out and about and not yet dealt with. Eggman seeks to quell these quarrels by telling Cheetah that at a later point they could always release the heroes in order to finish them off in a brutal fashion like she would want. He also informs Black Manta that he is certain that allies of the League will come to challenge them now that the League itself is missing. All they have to do at this point is give it time. But Captain Cold isn't too pleased hearing all this nonsense about patience. He confronts Lex, telling him that he was promised a king's ransom by the end of this and he intends to collect. Lex merely smiles back at the captain and his cold threats, informing him that it's actually a world's ransom, because with complete control of the Lex-Egg technology, they can now cut off vital connections between these worlds and essentially hold them hostage. I also like how in the background of all this bickering, Gizmo's been trying to put on as many party hats as he could on Black Manta until he finally got caught. I just think it's kind of funny because they've made Gizmo look like a complete and utter gremlin in this comic. Meanwhile, back in null space with the heroes, John inquires about this place, stating that it's strange, even compared to some of the weird things that he's seen out in deep space. Sonic tells him that it's some sort of pocket dimension. I like how it's a very brief explanation, like, yeah, Sonic has escaped this place before, sure, but he's also not a super genius who understands the machinations of this pocket dimension. Superman also points out that this place feels eerily similar to the Phantom Zone, which is the location that I thought might have been more fitting given the stark white design that the artist went for. Amy tries her best to hold the team together by letting them know that they'll make it through this by sticking together, and Batman chimes in stating that, you know, this is something that they had anticipated thanks to the report from Catwoman and Rouge. Though Wonder Woman seems to disagree a bit with Batman here, thinking that the secret plot would have been more along the lines of some sort of ambush, but it seems like maybe she didn't fully listen to the intel, seeing as Batman stated that this information they received informed them that Lex and Eggman's trap would be more indirect. Shadow even chimes in here, stating that all they have to do is wait until the opportunity to counterattack arises, which is something else that I surmised would be the League's plan last issue. Back at the Legion of Doom, things really begin to kick off as Eggman starts to wonder when Catwoman will be arriving to join them. Lex then tells the portly doctor that she has already fulfilled her role, and just like that, Eggman is snatched into the air by a Yellow Lantern construct. Many of us assumed that it would in fact be Lex who made the first move, and that appears to be correct, as his patience with the Sonic villain has finally reached its breaking point now that the heroes have been dealt with. Even Captain Cold helps with this betrayal, telling Eggman that he liked him, but he was outvoted by the others whom Eggman had rubbed the wrong way. Now, I'm not sure if Eggman is being sincere here, but he seems genuinely upset at this betrayal, telling them that he liked being part of the Legion of Doom. But more so, I think he enjoyed getting under their skin. Gizmo tells Eggman that having 2 bald people on the team is fine, but with 3, yeah, now it's a crowd. Lex also finally reveals that Catwoman was working for him all along as a spy, and thanks to her, he has full control over all of the Lex Egg portals. And although Eggman looks crushed by this revelation and says that he's sad it came to this, his tune instantly changes as something flies through the air at incredible speeds, freeing him from Sinestro's construct. The Legion of Doom is in utter shock as they look on at Eggman's new team and their replacements, the Metal Legion. Eggman touts that when he modified the Legion of Doom headquarters, he modified the place with biodata scanners, which is the same tech that Neo Metal Sonic has used before. Now, I've gotta say that something about how this all goes down feels a bit too convenient for my tastes. I almost feel as though Lex would have a system to alert him to sensors being placed in the base or some sort of security system, or, he would be more along the lines of suspicious seeing Eggman modify his base. But either way, it seems that Eggman's act of being a coy, over-the-top goofball villain worked, because Lex looks as though he's been thoroughly duped here. These robots aren't just mere imitations of the Legion of Doom, but rather superior versions, or so Eggman claims. I do wonder why Eggman didn't try to get biodata from the Justice League, who has way more powerful members like Superman and Flash. I can only imagine how cool it would be if he was able to get all the heroes' powers instead and turn Metal Sonic into an Amazo-like hybrid. Eggman fires back at Lex, saying that Catwoman may have given you intel, however, I got all my intel from Rouge, and with that info he received from her, he's taken over the entire base. Captain Cold turns to Lex and is like, weren't you supposed to be the smart one that pulls off the successful double cross? And this comment seems to really have gotten under Lex's skin, as no one can make a mockery out of the one thing that Lex has going for him. And no, I'm not talking about looking like Mr. Clean, but rather his intelligence. Eggman has made Lex look like a complete idiot in one fell swoop, so with that comment, he orders the Legion of Doom to attack. Back in Null Space, the heroes bide their time talking amongst one another. Knuckles really hopes that Eggman and Lex don't take each other down too fast because he really wants a piece of Luthor, and this really made me wonder why. Sure, Lex was hoping to poison Knuckles with kryptonite in their first encounter, but other than that, I feel like he would still have more beef with Eggman, especially seeing as they didn't get to finish their last fight. Silver is all in on Knuckles' idea of throwing down, and he wants to try to use their combined powers to escape right away. But I really like this moment where John tells Silver that patience is a part of willpower. I thought it was a cool lesson. It reminded me a lot of Luke wanting to rush in and battle Vader to save his friends, while Yoda, the more experienced teacher, knew that Luke needed to be patient and train longer. Wonder Woman comments that they also wouldn't want to overlap with the secondary team and double agents who are prepping them. Of course, she's talking about the two thieves, Rouge and Catwoman, whose help apparently cost a hefty sum, as Superman chimes in that maybe Oliver can help chip in with the Watchtower's budgets, seeing as Batman isn't the only wealthy hero on the team. Speaking of these two thieves, they're giving the rundown on the game plan in the Hall of Justice, where they assume that Lex and Eggman will go to war with each other, and one of them will be dumb enough to unleash the heroes on the other. When those heroes are unleashed at possibly one of the two bases, Team 2 will move in on the other base in a coordinated attack to take them both down in one fell swoop. This secondary team is made up of Aquaman, Supergirl, Crypto, Starfire, Blaze, Cream, and Cheese, and of course, Big the Cat. It's a really fun team, and we know that Black Manta has been itching for a fight with Aquaman, so hopefully that gets to happen. Back at the Legion of Doom, war has broken out between the two sides, just like Catwoman and Rouge suspected. Eggman taunts Lex by telling him he didn't get a robot replacement because he is already Lex's superior in just about every way. Lex responds by telling him he's going to make a statue of himself on top of Eggman's grave. The ego on these two is literally insane, and just as predicted in the last issue, it seems that this ego of theirs will be their undoing, as this rift is leaving them completely blind and vulnerable to the heroes who are still left in this world. Sinestro and Captain Cold are working surprisingly well with each other as they trade off their duplicates to fight the others and gain a tactical advantage for the moment. However, Gizmo seems to be having a rough go of it. Black Manta urges Lex to retreat because if they keep fighting in these close quarters, they'll be dead in no time. However, Lex is way too prideful and he isn't going to admit defeat to Eggman so easily. He tries to call in reinforcements, but it's all too late. Eggman doesn't want anyone crashing the party. With the push of a button, Eggman lifts the Legion of Doom base into the sky and out of the atmosphere as he unveils his latest and greatest weapon, the Doom Egg. I won't lie, I geeked out when Eggman did this. It was actually one of the more surprising parts of this story, and now it has me wondering just what this newly modified base will be capable of. I am curious what allies Lex would have been reaching out to in order to deal with Eggman. Perhaps a wild card like Bizarro or even Metallo. Let me know who you think he was trying to contact in the comments. With all of Eggman's plans unfolding before him, Lex is genuinely stunned, and despite all his ego, he finally realizes that Eggman outplayed him as he orders a retreat. As the Legion retreats, Lex utters that Eggman will pay for this. Eggman, however, is loving every second of this, basking in his victory. He orders his Metal Legion to recharge and repair themselves before readying to finish them off for good. Despite the fact that Gizmo was also played for a fool, he makes a comment essentially pinning all of this on Lex and taking a shot at his ego. This turns out to be a bad idea as Lex then slams the little gremlin into the wall, clearly irritated beyond belief, as he tells Gizmo that he will regain control of the situation. This entire event is playing out in a very similar fashion to the Justice League Unlimited show, where Lex takes control of the Legion of Doom by outsmarting and overthrowing Gorilla Grodd. Having taught Gizmo a lesson that I don't think he'll be forgetting soon, Lex leads the rest of the team to the Lex Egg Hub, because while Eggman may have full control over the base, Lex still does at the moment have full control of the portals. Stepping through, Black Manta is confused as to where they've arrived because this base is underwater. Lex informs him that it's an abandoned base on Sonic's world that he wanted as a fallback. And I believe, judging by the look of this base and the location, that it's aquatic base from Sonic 06, meaning that they are below the waters of Kingdom Valley. Gizmo immediately approves of the base, but Sinestro is worried that Eggman will still track them down here and take back control of the gates if left unopposed. However, Lex has a plan for this. One so dumb, so predictable, that Catwoman and Rouge had both predicted this outcome. Because despite the pleas of Captain Cold, Lex opens a portal to free the Justice League and trap Eggman with them, all while attempting his best Rorschach impersonation.
You're locked in here with me!
Back in null space, the portal opens, and even Superman has to facepalm because he's like, man, Lex really is an idiot who doesn't learn. Amy is all of the sudden battle ready, telling Superman, save the sympathy for later, let's go to war. And with that, the heroes charge through the portal and arrive on the Doom Egg, ready for battle. Eggman can't believe that Lex would be so stupid as to let them go after they finally defeated them, but this pettiness shouldn't be surprising from either of them. Despite his disappointment in Lex, Eggman channels his inner Thanos as he is now ready to handle it himself.
I'll do it myself.
And there we are left, waiting to see how the Justice League will match up against Eggman and his newly formed Metal Legion. I've really been enjoying this run. I think its pacing is a lot better than the first crossover, which it seemed way more rushed at times. The one downside I will say is that the story is a bit predictable, at least up until this point, but it's fun nonetheless. Let me know in the comments if you think the Metal Legion will win, or if the Justice League and Sonic will prevail. I think that Eggman has something up his sleeve, and I want to see exactly what this Doom Egg is capable of. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys right now. If you want to see more of this crossover, check out the video here, and subscribe if you haven't already for more Sonic lore and theories. As always, I want to wish you all the best. Take care. Peace.